Now, it was recorded on May the 10th, 1963. Civil Milata, Medium versus Flint.
You know, things aren't as they are, and then we get a sort of a different version through somebody else, and then I don't know, I'm all sixes and sevens, I think. I don't know where we are really, and there's something I'd like to have explained sometime, rather, what it is within myself that finds such terrible resentment against a certain high level. I don't know what it is, but I resent it from the top of my head to the sole of my feet.
What do you resent?
Dear. When we touch a high level of communication and certain things are said, I don't know what it is, Mickey, I feel so resentful as much as I just want things that I can understand, I think. I don't know what it is myself. I wish I could find out. I sometimes could chuck the whole thing up.
But what good would that do you?
It wouldn't, of course. It's as if I can't accept things.
But what is it you can't accept?
The loss of personality. What do you think?
Well, I think that's something that you can't comprehend. At the same time, the loss of personality, as you call it, will only come when the individuals concerned are ready to understand and accept it. Until such time as a person has themselves reached a certain development or stage of evolution, neither they will lose personality, nor the people that they are connected with or interested in.
No, but I think, can I put it like this? I feel that I'm expected to understand it. Is this right? Am I expected to put my mind to it? I don't want to, you see. It's rather like reincarnation. I don't like that either, but I've had to come round to accept it.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, evidently I have thrown a cat among the pigeons.
Just a bit, yes.
I'm sorry about that,
Yes,
but it was not done intentionally.
No, I'm sure it wasn't.
Neither was it done to hurt anyone.
No.
It was only done because, well, it is an aspect of our work which I think is very important and very vital to understand.
Yes, I wish I could.
But what you perhaps don't understand is the reality of the inner consciousness
No, I don't.
and the inner awareness and the necessity, the tremendous need for quietude and peace within one's inner self. There may be all kinds of disturbances around and about one, and even in one's personal life while on earth. But there is this tremendous importance that must be attached to trying desperately to overcome self and all the difficulties of material things to a certain extent. In other words, one must learn how to be able to be still, to be calm, to be placid within oneself. I was not saying anything in particular in regard to yourself.
No.
It is that I think you are much too sensitive and you are much too conscious of everything, and everything that I may say in particular, you will consistently take unto yourself as if it is a personal reprimand.
No, well, I didn't so much with this. I think the others felt it. They felt it actually more than I did at the time. I know that Joan and Monty have been very upset recently, and they do admit that since we heard this, you know. I think they are. And I was going to suggest, really, that during these months between now and August, when Margaret gets married and things settle a bit, that we just sit quietly and we don't try for voices or anything like
But the
that.
whole point is that in a sense you are not trying for anything.
No.
We are the ones that are
I know.
trying. You are the ones that are sitting. And all we ask of you is that when you sit, you shall be placid, that you shall be calm, that you shall, to the best of your ability, throw off all the material things that beset you, that cause disturbance. All we can ask of you is to give of your love, to be patient, and if you possibly can, to be as placid within yourselves. And that isn't so difficult, I don't think, as it may seem. I know you can say to me, oh, we have all sorts of disturbances, we have noises, and they bring you back with a bump, and all those sort of things. Oh, that is natural, that is human. But it is this inner peace that seems so difficult for you to get.
Yes. Yes.
All these trivial things that sometimes you quarrel about, these trivialities, which when you analyze them amount to little or nothing, it seems to me such a pity.
Well, I don't think we quarrel. We don't quarrel.
No, but there are these disturbances, there are all sorts of things that happen. You cannot always avoid them, of course. But when you sit, I do feel it is important to try desperately to be calm and placid, not allow anything to upset you or to interfere. We are the ones who have to do the work. You cannot do anything but than sit.
Yes, all right. Well,
No, but what is it? Because we might as well clear up this mess.
Well, I wonder if you could help me in this. Do you know why I feel resentful? Can you put your finger on it? I don't know myself.
Well, I don't know. I suppose it is that because you are still obviously very human and you are living in a world where you are bound to feel, to a certain extent, many things which we understand much more clearly, obviously, than you do, which we understand the reason and the full effect. You only have a sort of, a small idea. I mean, you sometimes take things much too seriously, in a sense. I don't mean that you should not take this work seriously, that you take intensely seriously, which is very good. But you must try to remember and to realize that it does not do to allow yourself to be carried away too much, not to be too intense too much. I think sometimes you are much too intense. If only you can be more quiet and placid and to accept this as, well, what it is, always an experiment. We have been doing this for a very, very long time. There have been all sorts of ups and downs, owing to all the fluctuating conditions.
Yes, I know.
I think that you get very excited at times within yourself, and all this business that worries you sometimes of the loss of identity, that is something that one never actually loses, because it is always there if ever you want it. But as one progresses, obviously, much of the old material self, much of the old self indeed, that seems important, or at least has seemed important, no longer seems to be so important. In other words, one is learning to live more tremendously, more fully, and we begin to assess our true selves, we begin to understand ourselves, we begin to understand the people near and dear to us, and we begin to understand so many of the things which must remain for a time for people still on earth a mystery. But there is no need for such concern, there is no need for such intensity. I mean, it seems to me that sometimes you put this too much to the fore. I don't suggest that it isn't, it must not be very important, but we understand that you have to live, you have to work, and you have to do all sorts of things which irritate, and sometimes these things become irksome. But we must try to have balance about it.
Oh yes, well, that's all right. Now, the one other thing that disturbed me a little bit was your statement about being Benvenuto Cellini. Now, I mean, I don't know much about reincarnation, but I can't understand this, how you could be reborn 3 months after your own passing. Sure, how can you put in the front of the book the continuation of life as a person, and at the end of the book you talk about someone passing on the 18th of August and reborn on the 2nd of November. I don't understand.
I don't see why that should be so difficult to understand.
Oh, I think it's awful.
How short a time? Time is nothing. Surely you know that time is unimportant, time is as nothing. And you put too much store, people on earth that is, too much store of material time. Everything must be to time. Everything must be according to the time of the clock and so on. Time is nothing. One may be dead, as you tell me, that is, in the sense of dying in a material sense, and be reborn again in an hour. Time is nothing.
How awful.
Why should it be so awful?
Oh, I think it's awful. I can't tell you how I don't know. I can't put that in the book. I really can't. I can't.
Well, I'm not asking you
No,
to
I
put it
wouldn't.
in the book, because it may well be impossible for many people to understand, but I still don't know why you should be so worried about this.
Well, I mean, you're proving survival, or the spirit doesn't prove survival, and there surely it is counteracting its own belief.
No.
I mean, all right then, Lucretia lost her husband. No, it doesn't matter what she's going through, we know that. He's passed on, and within 3 months he's born into somebody else. It's the one thing against reincarnation that everybody turns down flat.
Well, that is all right. People turn it down flat.
So,
People don't understand it. That
so
is
they
all
were
right.
never reunited because he was living in somebody else. What happened then? When he was 19 years of age, Benvenuto Cellini, she passed over. There is this awful separation again. I just don't
All this, of course, comes to this one thing, that you put far too much store on time. And you cannot understand nor appreciate time, because we do not and have no way of understanding time here. In other words, we are outside of time, but while you are on earth, you are in time. And while time is important to you, it will be impossible for you to understand or appreciate what it means to be outside of time. The matter of a few months or even a few hours between death and rebirth, whether it is rebirth in your world through a physical body and as a new individual or personality to develop accordingly, or whether it is dying in your world and entering into the world of the spirit and being, as it were, reborn over here, perhaps for centuries of so-called earth time, and then to return to earth. All this is unimportant. The interval, shall we say, is unimportant. What is important is the development, the stages of evolution, the slow but sure progression from stage to stage of evolution until you reach a certain condition whereby you then become, to a certain extent, shall we say, perfected, if you like, although there is no such thing as a completely perfect person as far as I know. But what is important is to realize that you are going through various stages of evolution, and it in a sense doesn't matter how long you may be as regards time in this or that incarnation. It is what you are experiencing in that time, what you have become in that time, what knowledge you have experienced and gained. In other words, it is all important and essential. And just because you may not be conscious of another person whom you have loved in a previous incarnation, you may not be conscious of that person perhaps for what you might say 40, 50, 60 years, which seems a long time to you, which in time itself is insignificant. All this is not so important. It is only important to you at the moment because you think of time being in time. You still don't understand.
Yes, yes, I'll have to begin to understand. Oh dear me, I'm swallowing some pills.
Well, when you started on this path, gradually you began to realize there were going to be a lot of pills that you would have to swallow. The same as I've told you, I come to you. I have been working with this instrument for a number of earthly years, which in time seems a long time, but as I say, is not so long. I have worked with you, and I continue to work with you, with the idea of developing you all in the group for this work that I have to do with you and through you. But I'm interested in others. I can help others, and I do help others. We must remember that we ourselves are sent to do work. We may not always understand fully what that means. Of course, when I say we are sent, it doesn't mean to say that we are ordered to do something. We do it because we ourselves desire to do it, because we feel the need to do it, not only for the sake of others, because that is our task, but also for the experience which benefits us also. We are all working in love and in harmony. We are all important one to the other. And this business of time is so unimportant. I wish you could realize the unimportance of time. I know it is important to you in a sense that while you are on earth and you say to yourself, well, I am 50-something, and I may have with a bit of luck 20 more years. What am I going to achieve in those 20 years? I've lost 50, you might say. But the point is, you don't think like that, or at least you should not think like that, because a person can achieve as much in one day, or do more good in one day, or they can do something which is so vital in itself that in that few hours, you might say, they can achieve more than some people can achieve in a whole lifetime. Don't you see that this business of coming back and incarnating, not only is it important and vital and necessary, but in time, it does not matter. It is insignificant. If only I can make you see that it doesn't matter about the time, nor the lapse of time, or the interval of time. These things are in themselves not so important. A person may pass from your world and be born again into a new body, perhaps within hours or weeks or months or years, but that in itself is not the important thing. It is that the spirit is manifesting itself in some form or in some way, either in your world through another body, or it is manifesting on this side in an astral or spiritual body, fulfilling some work and some experience and developing accordingly, and in other words, it is doing what it is natural to do under the circumstances which it is best serving and for which it is best prepared. I don't think it matters this time. It is, I wish you could try to adjust your mind to the realization of these.
Well, I will try, but now, will you tell me the difference, or at least try and get these two relative? Where do feelings come into it, or is this something that you leave behind, that you haven't got any feelings? Is there no tenderness? Is there nothing left of ties?
Why do you get these strange ideas?
I don't know, dear. It's the sort of
Why
way...
should you have this strange idea that as we unfold and develop, that we lose more and more the feeling of emotion and ties, as you call it? Surely, as one develops and one becomes more experienced, the more highly sensitized one becomes.
You think so?
And all these things become even more important, but not important in a material aspect, but in a spiritual one. That is the thing to remember, and there is this vast difference between the material and the spiritual. The links and the ties that have been forged in the past become intensified by love and experience on a higher basis.
A higher basis. All right, well, I'll go on.
I wish I could make you understand.
I wish you could.
This.
Well, anyway, I must try and understand it. I've got a book out now that I was led to get, I'm sure of that, called The Growth of the Soul. It's Theosophy, Madame Blavatsky's teachings. And it's very deep, but of course there's hundreds of years between one incarnation and the other, because the whole life has to be absorbed, as it were, and all the experience.
Well, I can only tell you this, that it is unimportant in a sense. It can be hundreds of years between an incarnation, or in between incarnations, or it can be a matter of seconds.
Is there any particular reason why you've come back so quickly, so often?
I don't know. I think, yes. It isn't just only that I want to serve and to help. It isn't only that I'm grateful to untold millions of people who are so kind to me. I mean, I appreciate all the love, as I've said so often, that has been sent out to me by people so often. It is very vital, very real to me, and I have certainly found it of great value.
No, but I mean in your incarnations, you've had so many. Is that usual, or is it that you're an exception to the rule?
I don't know that I'm any particular exception. I think there are many people who've had many incarnations, far more perhaps than I have had. I think, you see, I think it is that, quite frankly, in a material way, it is not possible for you to grasp certain things. You must accept. There are some things that you can accept, and other things that, not that you can discard, because I don't think you should.
No.
But you should have an open mind. But above all things, you must be receptive. And it does not mean to say that always you will understand everything. But what is important, and should not be difficult to understand, is that love overcomes time, overcomes all the obstacles that may beset one's development or evolution in any life or in any condition of experience. In other words, we are drawing closer and closer and closer together, but we must not think We must never think that because of this, that we can be independent in a sense. We must always remember that as we gain knowledge and experience, as we blend, if you put it like that, more perfectly, the greater is our responsibility to others. For we have to work and to help and guide and uplift and inspire others. No one can live alone.
Oh, no.
No people can live selfishly. We must all learn, and it is the only way that by sacrifice, by giving out with intensity of feeling and love, so we absorb and are absorbed. We don't live just as individuals for self.
No, I can understand that. It's, as I say, it's only these other things that seem to puzzle me.
I still don't know why you are so puzzled.
Well, leave it with me and
I have said to you, and I repeat, that you are very important to me, and I am very important to you. But also, there are untold numbers of other souls that are very important to me and are very important to you.
Yes.
I tell you again, that this circle was formed with a definite idea that it could be as a focal point,
Yes.
so that many could be brought, and many could be helped, and many could be instructed and guided. And that in that group, with time, with the development that will take place,
Yes.
we shall be able to work together in harmony and in love and do many things. And when I talk about the inner peace, the inner consciousness, the inner awareness, this should be something that is beginning, and is certainly, I think, beginning to develop more fully and more consciously among you. You must not be so disturbed in your mind about certain material things that at times seem so disturbing and important to you, because you feel you cannot shut your eyes to them. How can you? You are living in a material world, you must face them. But it does not mean to say that when you withdraw for a little while, that you cannot to some extent discard them. It is not always easy, but you can try. But what is important, the circle is improving. It is making progress. But of course, naturally, there is room for improvement. Naturally, we all want certain things to be altered. Why do you think I have talked to you in the past about trying to alter your circumstances and change your conditions? Because I realize that these things are irksome, but more important than that, they are destructive to a certain extent to your peace of mind and the work that we want to do. I am only doing my best, and I know you are trying, each one of you, but you must not lose faith, you must not lose heart. And when you talk about giving it all up, that is impossible, because you could never do that. You must continue, because there is no other alternative. You cannot stop dead in your tracks.
No, it would be disastrous. Oh, you couldn't, of course you couldn't, I know.
Don't be so intense about it. I don't know, this sounds strange thing for me to say. I want you to realize that everything has its place. You know, Christ, I think it was, who said, render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, unto God the things that are God's. And I am sure you can turn around and say to me, oh yes, well, we are rendering unto Caesar everything we got, and we are rendering unto God everything we've got too, and we still don't get nowhere. But the point is that if you do fulfill your obligations the best of your ability in both spheres, spiritual and material, eventually they will learn to live together, and there will be a greater harmony and a greater plenty. But this circle will continue, and we shall achieve some of the results at least that we have promised. Don't lose faith.
Well, I haven't
That
done
would be a terrible thing.
I did. I shook badly this week. I mean, on Saturday I was as calm as everything was perfect, and then, never mind.
Well, it will come. It will come.
And
I must go now. But don't be unhappy.
No.
Because that I would be very concerned about. Because if we do not bring happiness to you, then it is a terrible thing. I want you to find great joy and happiness in
Well,
this.
I have done,
I know, but don't lose patience, don't lose heart, because when you least expect it, possibly, we shall achieve, perhaps as I've said before, spectacular results, you know, when you least expect it. That will be the time, I think.
Did you see the picture I took today?
Yes.
Did you see the light? Oh,
Yes.
it was wonderful. I didn't rouse
I
it.
hope you will get it,
I hope so.
because I try desperately, because I think this little something extra like that will not only be good for you, but it will be good for the circle.
Yeah.
Anyway, I must go.
All right.
But
Thank you so
I
much.
hope soon I speak to the whole circle.
Yes,
because I think it will be very good for them too.
It will. You concentrate on
Let's
that.
go.
All right.
Goodbye.
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 Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye, Micky.